समझ नहीं आ रहा अपने सैलरी इंक्रीमेंट का क्या करूं।
बेटा इतना क्या सोच रहा है? अपने म्यूचुअल फंड्स के एसआईपी का टॉपअप करा ले। दिस इज द राइट टाइम।
क्या समझ में नहीं आया?
बेटा इतना क्या सोच रहा है? अपने म्यूचुअल फंड्स का एसआईपी टॉपअप करा ले। दिस इज द राइट टाइम।
अब समझा।
Mutual fund investments are subject to market risks. Read all scheme-related documents carefully.
If just 2 months after the invocation of Pakistan se Azadi, I am back to writing about the same country, I owe you an explanation. Here are my 2 points. The first, this week, it's only partly about Pakistan. Soon enough, we switch to what's more important and central to India's national interest. This will involve some navel-gazing, but productively so. And even a rap on our own knuckles, if such a thing were possible. Can you give yourself a rap on your own knuckles? Sometimes you need to. Or maybe you find this too rude, a rap on the knuckles, and would prefer a wake-up call? You choose. The second point is just the Rona Dhona, poor translation but holy outrage over the fact that Pakistan is now somewhere on the table with the US and Iran while we are not. So? Why did this happen? Have we slipped into irrelevance? Have we lost our moral stature? The opposition will attack the government because it must. That is the opposition's job in a democracy. Touchingly, however, even the government has struggled for the right answers. That we can't be dalals, brokers like Pakistan, that isn't an answer. It's easy to understand why the government can't speak the hard truth, that India is not a neutral party in this conflict. It's on the Arab, Israel, US side. I have listed them alphabetically, you can change the order. Of course, India has significant shared interests with Iran and won't be ranged against it, nor can it show solidarity with it. It's a tricky act. When this war ends, as all wars do ultimately, India's interests will lie with both the winner and the loser. That's not a choice India can make right now. However, as I said to you earlier, India is not neutral. India has picked a side, and that side is Israel, Gulf Arabs, and the Americans. Think about what could be the reason why the Chinese never offered to mediate or even stir the UN Security Council. After all, they are a permanent member there. They are smart. The Chinese are smart. They are watching their rivals weaken themselves. In this case, America. They aren't burdened by nostalgia or sentimentality. They are building their strength and what's called the global south, though erroneously, as I said in a national interest column on 26 August 2023, you will have a screenshot. I will share a link with you with the description. The Chinese have also sewn up this so-called global south with BRI, Belt and Road Initiative projects in at least 32 countries, almost all financed with high interest debt. The Chinese are calm. They won't even act in envy, even if India was invited to mediate or at least carry messages, which is all Pakistan is doing right now. The Chinese will be amused. They will only be amused because they know geopolitics is not emotional or minor tactics. It's a patient, long duration, strategic business. You grow dominance over time and never get distracted. We now dedicate a few paras to Pakistan too. From day one, since it was formed, Pakistan scored over India on one count: strategic clarity. Although history tells us that it's been self-destructive for the Pakistanis, but they don't see it that way, or they would not have dedicated their entire strategic capital to one purpose: weakening, if not destroying India. Early in the 1950s, they joined the US-led military alliances to quote-unquote fight communism. A gullible Nehru took it so seriously, he even took Field Marshal Ayub into confidence, explained to him the common threat from communist China from across the Himalayas, and hoped Pakistan would make common cause with India. Not long after, the Pakistanis were sitting in Peking, as it was then called, finalizing their border settlement. I'm putting border settlement in quotes because most of this border was across parts of Pakistan-occupied Kashmir. The upshot, by early 1960s, the Pakistanis had aligned with both the US and China with the singular objective of taking Kashmir militarily. That we can now grab Kashmir, we have American weapons, training, etc., etc. Our economy is doing very well, and the Chinese will keep India distracted. It led them into their 1965 war of choice. They chose to fight that war. They lost. They lost because they were not able to get Kashmir. They are the only ones who had an objective to capture Kashmir by force. They failed, so they lost the war. Their country, as a result, went into disaffection. People were very unhappy. The economy began to struggle. Ultimately, Ayub Khan lost his job and Zulfikar Ali Bhutto an election. That was the first genuine election in Pakistan's history. The wrong side in this case, Mujibur Rahman's Awami League, won a majority, and sure enough, the results of Pakistan's first real election were scrapped. Once again now, the Pakistanis played a masterstroke further to their military alliance with America in the 50s and special relationship with China in the 60s. They saw both of those as great strategic achievements. Now they scored another one. They leveraged both of these existing relationships now by pulling off that incredible secret diplomacy, taking Henry Kissinger to China in July 1971. It made a global sensation, shook India, and obviously the Pakistani leaders, General Yahya Khan and Bhutto, were feeling on top of the world. It's just that in 5 months from this act of so-called brilliance, they had lost half their country. In fact, East Pakistan, if anything, had a higher population than the West Pakistan then. I can explain this better with an aside. In a tongue-in-cheek letter to the editor of a Pakistani newspaper, the late Manilal Tripathi, our consul general in Karachi then, once suggested that since the larger population had already rejected the idea of Pakistan, what was left should not be called Pakistan. It should change its name, maybe suggest Sindhu Desh instead. He was responding to an op-ed in that paper demanding that India stop calling itself India, as that entity ended with partition and should only be called Bharat now. In 1979, Pakistan was back to the same brilliance in joining the Americans against the Soviets in Afghanistan. Much benefit came to it, including the F-16s, but along with it came millions of refugees and permanent jihad culture. But in spite of the Al-Qaeda having been nurtured in the Afpak region and the fall of the Twin Towers, Pakistan actually gained. It again became a stalwart ally of the Americans in late 2001, receiving about $22 billion in military and economic aid, or geostrategic rent, I call it, in the following decade until Osama bin Laden was found in Abbottabad and this spigot closed. What was Pakistan left with then? An incurable jihadi culture threatening its own state, deep and violent sectarian divides, human bomber trend. Ask the Shias whose mosques are the favored targets now. And also now what their own ministers describe as a full-fledged war or khuli jang with Afghanistan against their own strategic offspring, the Taliban. All four moves that made global headlines over these 70-odd years have left Pakistan weaker, poorer, with declining internal cohesion, its most popular leader left to rot in jail, and a caricature of a field marshal strutting about with his baton like it was the 19th century. If they think they are making yet another such brilliant move, good luck to them. We'll wish them well. Pakistan is a great vindication, in fact, of Henry Kissinger's most quoted line. It may be dangerous to be America's enemy, but to be America's friend is fatal. We in India just have to raise the fences and strengthen them and build more deterrence. That's the only guarantee of peace in this subcontinent. It will also be good for Pakistan because only conventional deterrent will prevent them from harming themselves. The nut graph of the expanded argument is Pakistan's brilliance isn't strategic. It's tactical, short term, and they neither know what to do the day after nor when somebody calls their bluff. What's tactical cannot become strategic in the absence of national heft. Now we turn to navel-gazing and delivering the rap on our own knuckles. All sides swear by strategic autonomy in our domestic politics. Everybody says strategic autonomy. Modi government says we believe in strategic autonomy and multilateralism, multi-alignment. The opposition says where has our strategic autonomy disappeared? But geopolitics is not a game for the faint-hearted, nor for those with critical dependencies on all key competitors in the world. Who are India's competitors? You list them and I will tell you India's dependencies on them. This isn't a recent thing. It's always been so, and it has blighted our strategic autonomy traditionally, from food to begin with, from food to armaments, capital to technology, and employment to fuel. India has never been fully self-reliant in a critical mass of areas, nor is it likely to be so for a long time unless we look inwards and fix what condemns us to being such an also-ran. I know many of you will say, don't we have self-sufficiency in food? The fact is, we import enormous amounts of edible oil, pulses, and for heaven's sake, fertilizers. Moral authority, soft power, all of that is for losers. I can list 5 critical gaps the ongoing war has exposed for us. The first is energy. The next 2 flow from it: fertilizers and inflation. Military hardware and technology is the fourth, and it will get more challenging with such a humongous demand already in a world at war. All the people, all the countries that we want to buy from, all their factories, all their companies have their order books already full because the countries themselves are buying and the rest of the world is buying. The fifth dependency is jobs, with almost 1 crore Indians employed in GCC nations, that is the Gulf Arab nations, accounting for about 40% of our remittances, and millions in the US. Does India have the strategic autonomy to say what is just in this war and what is not just, what is unjust? A nation has to raise itself and earn strategic autonomy as the Chinese have done. This failure cuts across the tenures of various parties as they've been in power in India. If India sees no choice other than to follow the big power orders with the big power sanctions, not UN sanctions, on buying oil from Iran, Venezuela and Russia, and sometimes from all of them, sometimes all of them get sanctioned, it underlines the cruel fact of our fragilities. If we can forget self-congratulation for a moment each morning and reflect on this, it will be the rap on the knuckles that we need. अपनी असलियत बचानी चाहिए. Only honesty, acceptance of truth, realism, diligence over another 2 decades can take us to that status. Meanwhile, there is no need to get ahead of ourselves.